Hello, everyone. I have a really funny story to share, but first, because today is Friday, Mother's Day is Sunday, and I want to shout out to everyone out there celebrating Mother's Day on Sunday. Happy Mother's Day to everybody, and I wish you a day of peace, joy, happiness, and hopefully you get to recharge your battery before fighting the good fight come Monday morning. Moving on to the funny story here. I have a cleaning job on weekends. I clean commercial buildings. And one such building is about 40,000 square feet, a little less than that, like 38,000 to be exact. And the front part is split into two great big rooms. Then there's a conference room. Then there's two bathrooms and a long hallway. And then there's a doorway that leads into a kitchenette. And then after the kitchenette, there's 6 inner office spaces. And then there's like 3 or 4 giant warehouses. Now, I only clean the office spaces, the restrooms, the floors, things like that. I don't go in and clean the warehouses unless there's computer stations. Then I clean the keyboards and things like that. I've been doing this particular building since 2017. So I've been at this for a long time. And in the manager's office where I dust and vacuum and wipe down the surfaces and that sort of thing, he has a surveillance television set up, and it has, I think, 9 cameras. It shows the entire interior of the building as well as the exterior of the parking lots and the back sections of the entire storage areas of the building. And there's a lot to this space, a lot of cubbies and hidden areas and places I've never even seen before because I wouldn't need to. Years ago, there was a huge dumpster set up on one side of the building, but recently they moved it behind a locking fence area. So when I do my job and I empty the garbages and I have to take all the garbage out, it's actually way more convenient because now instead of being out in a parking area on the right side of the building, I can just go through the back warehouse with all of those ginormous bags of garbage, those contractor bag sizes from their big garbage barrels, and drag them right out there, and then the dumpsters are right there by that warehouse door. So it's way easier for me. And what I noticed was when I was in the manager's office, I saw on the surveillance video on one of the cameras, I noticed this little thing flashing, and I had never noticed it before because I don't usually notice stuff like that. Why would I, But I saw this specific security alert. Now, on the camera next to it, I saw a little like red sign or something, but it was too little to read. But then I saw this red alert that looked like little people. I didn't know what it meant. So I looked at the video to see, not the actual recorded video. I'm talking about the screen that's visible in the office. Just standing there, I can see it, And I looked at the screen and I saw that it was coming from the back section behind this ginormous warehouse where the dumpsters are. What I saw were little tiny things moving, and I thought to myself, there has to be trees, but it looked like a bunch of people. And this whole property has a fence around it. It's probably 8-foot fence. If I had to guess, it's all chain link. But behind that is all woods, and there are public hiking trails, and there's a river, and there's, cliffs and things for people to go hiking. It's very known. There's actual hiking groups that tour this area. I just assumed it was a bunch of people hiking in the woods. But what I noticed is that even though I couldn't really see the people, it distinctly looked like people running around in like underwear. And I thought, what in the world is going on? Some weird club running around in underwear? I really couldn't figure it out. But above my pay grade, I only clean there. So I just was like, whatever. I'm not going to even look at this anymore. I just didn't want to be like confronted when I walked out to do the garbage because I really didn't know who these people were or what they were doing. And I mentioned it to somebody who worked there. And I said, hey, I don't know if you have the ability to play the tapes back. I didn't know who these people were, but clearly they were running around in like underwear or something. And I'm not really sure what was going on. It was really hard to see. I could just see like little people running around, but all over the place. It looked like they were in the woods and everything. However, these are cameras that have panoramic view. They're like a black dome thing that hangs on the side of the building. And this person explained it to me that they're up really high. They're up on the corners of the building. So they're actually looking down. So it makes things, it's like a car mirror. The warning you get, objects may appear closer than they are. So his take was that they were actually out in the woods, probably. So he took some pictures of the back area by the warehouse where the dumpsters are to make me feel better, because I was actually kind of afraid then. I was like, well, you know, now I'm thinking about it. If I'm here by myself and I go out to empty the garbage, is somebody going to come along and confront me or jump out of behind the garbage? Like, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know who these people were, and it was kind of frightening. This person said, you know what, I have to go in Saturday. Come along and take pictures for yourself and see for yourself. It was most likely out in the woods on the hiking trails. So I agreed to go on Saturday morning, and I went ahead and Googled if there were any meetups with the hikers that particular day that I was cleaning. Like maybe there was an organized activity or an organized hike, because I know that's very popular this time of year. We have a lot of hiking trails. But coincidentally, there were none that day. There were some the day before, the day after, but none that day. So I'm like, okay, well, that makes it more curious then. And the pictures he took were before mine. We didn't take the pictures at the same time. He shared his photos with me later, and I noticed some inconsistencies in the photos. First of all, I noticed that in the back behind the dumpsters, there's this large grassy section. The first thing is there is a tarp that's hanging on a fence. I don't know how it's hanging there. You can just see it. But the tarp in his photo is spread out along the fence line. When I took the picture, not even 24 hours later, the tarp is now down and it's still hooked to the fence, but it's not spread out. So the tarp was not in the same position. So that was curiosity number one. Number two, there's like this field of grass looking down at that back fence where the tarp is. In his photo, it was all bright green grass, new grass coming in for spring. But in my photo, it was all leaves. And I was like, what? How does that even happen? And in that area, there's a hill. So the fence of the company is like this, and then there's a hill that goes like this. There's no way leaves can fly uphill through the fence over into the area where I saw them at. So I was like, how would the leaves have gotten back up over the hill? That made no sense to me. Also in this back area, there were a couple of things, like say, you know, a rock or a planter. These things were moved. They were all moved around. In his photo, they were in one location. In my photo, they were in another location. And I thought, what is going on? So I shared the photos with him and said, hey, look, something is definitely going on here, because how in the world between the time you took your pictures, the business was actually closed, then I took my pictures, and look, they're not the same. There's definitely discrepancies. He's like, that's bizarre. I know there was no one else there. I did what I had to do. I got out of work. So I don't know how that happened. I don't know what's going on here. That is weird. And I said, you know what? I'm going to Google and see if there are any suspects on the loose. If our police station is looking for suspects. He's like, what do you mean? And I said, what if this is a crime scene and a criminal moved things around to cover up evidence of a crime? He's like, that's weird. I'm like, it is weird, but what if that's true? What if they're looking for some suspects or something? And he's like, okay, tell me what you find. So I go ahead and I Google this. And lo and behold, I was astonished. There are suspects they're looking for, but I don't think that has anything to do with it. Immediately following several pages of suspects wanted in this incident, this incident, this incident, right? There are many pages, not just here, but across the nation, across the United States. There are kids in high school and they're seniors and they play this game. I have never even heard of it. I didn't know if my kids had participated in it when they went to high school. I had never even heard it from them. Apparently it's a water fight game, and they use Nerf, and they get each other with water. I can't say certain words on YouTube, so I'm trying to be less detailed, but I think you get my drift. They were playing with Nerf something and having water attacks, water fights. And I guess it's an annual tradition. Apparently it started on TikTok. I don't know the year it started. However, they get dressed up apparently in bathing suits, goggles, little flipper fins for their feet, and they go out. They might be in bushes, they might be in a tree, they might be in the woods. They hide, and it's to ambush the opponent. So I guess they're all assigned a person that's their target, and then they have to blast them with water. And if they do, that person is out. And the game doesn't end until the last player is hit with the water. So therefore, it might not even end until June. I'm just putting this out there because I had no idea. My kids are grown and out of high school now for a few years. I asked them if they knew about this, and they have. My daughter had heard about it, but she did not participate in it. My son told me that he in fact did participate in it, and he got blasted at McDonald's. I also looked online and saw a bunch of pictures of kids being silly, having fun, hanging out in trees, and other kids, hanging behind a bush. So it is a thing, but they also do it in dangerous places such as gas stations, parking lots. The police are putting warnings out, and I saw them across the nation. So it's not just my police department here where I live. It's everywhere. They're putting out warnings. Do not inflict conflict with them. They're just kids having fun. And they're also warning the kids, like these Nerf toys can look real. So they're saying, don't paint them, make sure they look like they're plastic Nerf toys. And apparently some kids have been injured. I read reports of injury from Florida to Texas. I didn't read all the reports, but one of them was a man came out of his house, saw a kid, thought it was a burglar, and went in the house, brought something back out, and inflicted a wound on the kid's arm. Also in Texas, I read a kid actually fell off a car. So if you have not heard about this, just be aware. If you see kids creeping and crawling around your yard with colorful play toys that squirt water, the police are aware of it. They don't want you to call 911. They just want to make sure there's no conflict, no injuries, and kids are just having fun. I did read the rules somewhat, and it did say they're not supposed to be going on private property or trespassing to play the game. But in the event you were not aware of this and you see somebody creeping around in a bathing suit, flippers on their feet, and goggles with a plastic play toy, don't panic. It's just an annual tradition. Mamas, have a wonderful day on Sunday. Take care and hug your babies. Thanks for watching.